Right, so for today's video, we have some more wedding dress drama, except this time, unlike other times we spoke about wedding dress drama, it's not just the person complaining about the dress and then the creator of the dress responding. We have a lot of responses from a lot of different people that are involved in this, to the point where it's no longer just someone that is unhappy with their wedding dress, it then becomes multiple people unhappy with their wedding dresses, and then also turns into someone stealing an entire company, and yeah, we'll go through it all in today's video. So the two main people you need to be aware of at this point, because again, more people come into it later. But initially, the main people you need to be aware of is, first of all, the company, Ma Corsetière. Oh god, I fucking butchered it already, haven't I? Ma Corsetière. I think that's how it's pronounced. Probably wrong. But this, as you can tell, is a wedding dress company that creates wedding dresses and corsets and whatever else. And another person you'd be aware of is this TikToker right here who is called Blank Slots. And she recently uploaded a video with the caption that you can see right now saying, "Scammed by wedding dress designer out of $700. And this is what she had to say.
So I'm going through possibly the worst situation that any bride whose wedding is a month out could be going through. I reached out to a dress designer as of over a year ago at this point and connected with her, let her know that I had interest in her designing my dress. I actually found her here on TikTok. She makes incredible pieces. They're handmade corsets. She's super, super talented. I was really excited to be working with her.
So as you've probably pieced together at this point, who she is talking about here is the Ma Corsetière. It's gonna get worse the more I pronounce that, isn't it?
Corsetière.
Corsetière. I was kind of right. I feel like that's better than what I expected it to be, at least. But either way, the video carries on and she says that they finalized the design by April and she paid a $700 deposit.
I paid for my initial deposit, which was $700. On her website, it's listed as the pricing set for her corsets.
And also goes on to say that the deadline was the end of July, but at the very latest it was August 1st.
Was really excited between April and I let her know my timeline was really ideally July or early July. That wasn't going to be possible between April to July based on her schedule and the amount of clients that she was working. So she let me know this and I was willing to compromise. I told her last week of July would be able to work well for me, and really pushing it, like the possible last date it could be sent to me would be August 1st.
And then she goes on to say that throughout this process she's asking a bunch of questions, trying to get as many updates as she can, which she probably would, because I mean I can't imagine how stressful this situation must be. It's a very important part of what is probably going to be the most important day of your life. She also refers to times where they're talking about this specific fabric that she needs and she doesn't actually receive a picture of the fabric until a month after it's been delivered.
She had to order a special waist fabric that she didn't have. We confirmed the fabric and the fabric arrived in June, and she didn't actually send me a photo of the fabric like I requested until July 5th, exactly a month later from when the fabric had supposedly arrived.
So it becomes very clear as you're watching this video is that one part that she is very frustrated with is the lack of updates. And not only the lack of updates, but also you've got to consider how close it's getting to the deadline at this point. She's just received a picture of the fabrics, the beginning of July, the deadline is August 1st. And in fact she goes on to say that the last update that she received in July was actually July 19th, and the next update she received after that was after the deadline.
Basically, between the month of July, the last update that she actually reached out to me proactively was on July 19th. We confirmed the price of the veil, we confirmed the price of the remaining that I had to pay for the dress, and basically we're good to go. She told me that she was going to be working and constructing the dress the rest of that week. And I didn't hear a single word from her until I reached out proactively the first week of August, actually after our deadline.
And now it's at this point that Blank Slots is told that the skirt is not going to start being worked on until August 4th, which again is obviously after the deadline.
She let me know, even though we talked about this back in July, on August 4th, 3 days after our August 1st, like maximum, beyond maximum deadline, like we're getting into the red zone here as I leave for my wedding on September 6th. She let me know that she'd be starting working on the skirt and that the corset top of my dress was finished.
She then goes on to say that she starts freaking out at this point because obviously we're after the deadline. She's asking for photos of the update. She's not receiving any photos. And then on August 5th, she is told that the company is not going to have time to complete the veil.
And then I was told last Monday, a day later, August 5th, that she did not have time to complete my veil, even though we initially started speaking back last year and we confirmed and I started paying the deposit for everything early April.
And now at this point, because we're past the deadline and she's panicking a little bit, obviously stressing out because it's getting so close to the wedding, she says, okay, I'll just take the corset that you said you have finished and the other parts that you haven't finished, I no longer want, and you can keep the $700.
I basically said, hey, listen, you can keep the money. I'd like the corset that I paid for. She prices her corsets on her website at around $700 because they're custom made and take a lot of time to do. Totally respect the time and effort and energy she put into it. Told her, hey, I'd let you keep this money. Please just send me the corset. they absolutely refused to do so until I paid the remaining fee for the dress. They claimed they cut the fabric. I didn't see any photos or evidence of said cut fabric. We are well over my due date for when this dress was supposed to be in my hand and on my person by. And they are really, honestly, being extremely unprofessional at this point. I just wanted to share my story and warn people from working with this business. I'll tag the business down below.
So as you just heard, they refused to do this. They said, we're not sending you the corset unless you pay for the full amount, and we fulfilled the whole order. And she goes on to say that she's actually filed a dispute to try and get her money back.
I have not gotten my money back at this point. I filed a dispute with the credit card company. They're going to be fighting against it. There is an option to take them to small claims court. However, consulted with my lawyer, they said it'd be a little bit of a headache. So I let them know that I was going to be making this review if they didn't come to some sort of arrangement with me, and nothing's been done other than basically them, you know, disrespecting and continuing to gaslight me about my experience working with them. So,
and that is pretty much the entire video. Now, before we get to the response here, a lot of the comments on this video were kind of, well, mostly first of all on Blank Slot's side here, but there was also a lot of people saying like, oh wow, you didn't like finalize everything and then paid a deposit until April with your wedding being in September. That's kind of cutting it close. But I think a very important part of this story is if it is true that they agreed on a deadline, which was the beginning of August, and it's not fulfilled by the beginning of August, she is in every right to ask for her money back. I mean, if we take this comment, for example, it says, a custom wedding dress in 3 to 4 months is crazy, but she should have told you that. And then we got comments like this one saying, I had the worst experience of the same designer. We're going to get to other people's experiences in a bit. And then we've also got comments like this one saying, saw her video first and was already on your side. Now we are going to get to her video right now. So this is the response to the accusations, and she actually starts off the video by saying that this is the response to the accusations and kind of gives an idea of her side of the story straight away.
Hi everyone, I'm here to speak against the allegations regarding myself and my company, against an unhappy bride that canceled her custom gown once the gown was already in production.
So straight away you can kind of see where she's going with this, right? She's saying, look, I'm not going to refund her because the dress was already in production and she's cancelled it whilst it's in production. Now you would like to think that there's a contract here, and that would really give an idea of who was in the right and who was entitled to money and whatever else. But like I said before, if they had agreed on a date and they had confirmed that this date was the deadline, then I feel like she is in every right to say, look, I want my money back, this is not what we agreed to. But at this point, we're not 100% true if that is actually being confirmed and it's written down in like a contract. I don't think anyone's referred to a contract in these videos. But the owner of Ma Corsetière, oh, I've said that even worse this time, haven't I? But the owner does say that she was very upfront with the fact that she doesn't know if she'll be able to complete it in this deadline.
You can see in the messages between us, I fully was transparent that I wasn't even sure that I was able to take her order any longer, and that I might only be able to supply her with a corset, and came up with this unique sketch, and this was the gown that was in production. Okay,
so we do have some text messages here where they are talking about the deadline. You can pause to read them here, and she is saying, to be fair, like, look, I don't know if I'll be able to do it in this deadline, because you know it is a lot of work to do in such a short period of time. But then also does put a caption on screen saying, we later agreed on a full gown custom design to be done in the time frame instead of a more difficult tulle gown. Oh, God, there's so many words I don't know how to pronounce. So yes, there is some messages saying, look, I don't know if I'll be able to do what you want in that time frame, but then does go on to say that we did come up with a different idea that I will be able to do in that time frame, which is pretty important, right? So judging from both responses, it does seem like they agreed on August 1st, because, I mean, it hasn't been disputed here. She then goes on to say that they agreed on the beginning of August and that the communication was actually great, and in fact, there wasn't more than 12 hours where they didn't reply to a message.
From the beginning, we agreed upon an estimated delivery date of around the beginning of August, and all of that was fully transparent to her the entire time. Once the gown was in production in early August and late July, she never went over 12 hours without receiving a reply back from us. She also was informed of the delays because, I don't know if people realize this, but I am the only one making all of these gowns.
Okay, so again, judging from these text messages, it does say around the beginning of August, which isn't August 1st. The problem is we've only seen a few messages at this point. There might be more messages where they agreed on August 1st, which is a very specific date. And I don't know why Blank Slots would say a very specific date if that wasn't mentioned. But either way, if they've agreed on the beginning of August, and then when it gets to August 5th, she's told that, oh, right, we're just now starting to work on the skirt, I can see how that would stress you out and be like, oh, what do you mean you're just starting? And again, I do realize that a lot of people are going to say, well, this is a very like short time frame to get this done. Maybe she should have planned this like way earlier and actually paid the deposit way earlier, but still, right, if it's been agreed on, that's kind of something that needs to be done. Now, as this video goes on, she confirms that she did actually send out this text message on August 4th saying like, look, we're just starting to work on the skirt now, it's going to be finished next week. And then a few days later, she receives this message saying to cancel. Hi, you two, I wanted to reach out because I'm really uncomfortable with what's been happening with this dress situation and the fact that it hasn't been started until this week. I'm really upset that I haven't had any photos sent to me just yet, and I think it would be best to terminate our relationship. I know you put time and effort into this, and I don't expect a refund, but I will take the corset top when it's completed, and that'll be the end of this. Now, at this point, the owner, sorry, I feel like I'm rude, like keep saying like the owner, not saying her name, but I don't know her name because it's not on the TikTok page anywhere that I can see. So this is all I can really say at this point. Okay, I feel rude, but I don't know her name. But either way, it's at this point that the owner says that due to their policy, she is not entitled to a refund and in fact can only receive any products if the amount is paid in full.
In our policy, it says that clients who cancel their sales contract are not entitled to any refund of any money up until and before the cancellation date. For gowns that are already in production, especially custom gowns with custom source fabrics made to her measurements that cannot be resold or repurposed in any way at all, that the client is then responsible in payment in full to the company for the release of any of the pieces of the garment.
Which, by the way, I do fully understand, right? If the dress is already been put in production and you've then said like, look, I want to cancel this and receive a refund, I can see why the company would be against that and why that would be in a policy. But this is why I also believe that it should be very important that you decide on a strict deadline and you have it in writing, because if it goes past that deadline, you should be entitled to a refund. So again, I'm not sure what was in writing, if they had a contract, if they had a strict deadline, but that feels like that should be something that's very important in this situation. And then as the video goes on, she says that she explained the policy to blank slots, but then she received a chargeback.
Within 24 hours of this, we received a chargeback on the card and all of the money was then stripped from us. And against what people are saying, in Shopify rules, once a chargeback is completed onto the card, you cannot give the person a refund. Even if I wanted to refund her, I am not able to. And
then she ends the video by apologizing to any other customers because there's now going to be delays because she had to take a couple of days off due to this situation.
Because of this, I take a break for a few days, and unfortunately our timeline was so tight that I'm not allowed to take a break for a few days. And so I really want to deeply apologize for the other orders and girls that were affected because of this.
So that's a response to Blank Slot's video. I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below. But it's now at this point that multiple other people started coming out about their experience as a customer and also their experience as a business partner and even sister. But first of all, let's take a look at some videos from other customers. Now, this one in particular is from user 67543, a very creative username. Now, she starts off this video by explaining that she's actually waiting for a refund currently on this dress that arrived and wasn't what she was expecting, and she's not receiving any replies.
Thinking that it's a little funny that you were able to make a whole TikTok video response to a bride, but you couldn't even text me back about the refund that I'm supposed to be getting because I'm returning the full dress to you. I'll post that here.
Okay, so she then shows this text message here that she had sent to, Cricket. I guess that's her name. Right, I don't know how to say owner, that's good to hear. But basically she's explained that this dress that she received has been completely deconstructed and they have to redo the entire skirt because it is angled. Both are unable to complete it for my wedding day. I'm returning the dress for a full refund and I can ship it to you today. I'm due $1,150. Please let me know when that is done so I can send you the tracking number. If I do not hear from you by the end of the day, I will be disputing the charge with my credit card company, and she's been left undelivered. And now it's at this point in the video that she goes in to explain a bunch of the problems that the dress had.
I paid you $1.6K for a dress that came in with, first of all, the wrong color, skirt uneven, sleeves couldn't even lift up my arms, the zipper completely unfinished, the layering under the lace non-existent, the layering of the lace completely uneven, whole thing lopsided, just absolute insanity.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say if that is true, that is a lot of problems to have with a dress that you've paid so much for. And in fact, in another video by this user, she goes on to actually show the dress and show some of the problems.
So I didn't even notice this when I saw the picture that she sent me. And this is without the additional like sleeve on it. But the dress at the bottom is lopsided like that, where it's longer on one side. And the location of the zipper is like not on the front or on the side. It's like in this weird middle part of like my hip when I tried to put it on. And also the zipper's not finished, so I'll show you that. So here's the zipper. So this whole thing is like, I don't know what this is.
Okay, right. I mean, look, I'm not exactly a professional when it comes to any of this type of stuff. I've never made a dress before, but yeah, that doesn't look great from just my, like, novice eyes.
And the way that it was sewed in is, like, very kind of
Oh, wow,
weak.
yeah.
Honestly,
that doesn't look good.
I was really afraid putting it on that it was going to rip, because it just looks like it's cheaply thrown together. And this end was also not finished off.
I mean, yeah, again, I don't really know what I'm looking for here, but that doesn't look great. I would also be concerned if I received a product worth over $1,000 and it came like that.
So when it's fully unzipped, this whole piece is like not attached. And it was like that when I got it. Like, you can try and look. There's no finishing like loose strands or anything. That's just how she did it, and you can kind of see some of the sewing job too.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the comments as well, there are people who do know a lot more about this type of stuff than I do, and they say that this is just completely unfinished. As someone who sews, the zipper is unfinished. The uneven sides is because the gathering isn't even. As someone who studied fashion design but wasn't a good sewer, I would have cried if my zipper turned out like that on a project. And then we've even got people saying, oh no ma'am, she sent you a Temu dress. Now, if you remember, this user also mentioned the fact that the dress came as the wrong colour, and at this point in the video she shows that the fact that it's the wrong colour.
Also, I asked for the dress in ivory, and the pictures in the studio, the skirt looked kind of pinkish, and she said it was the lighting, but when I received it, I held it up to a white veil and an ivory veil, and the dress still looks pink. So it's actually the wrong color, and it wasn't the lighting, which I wish she had just told me so I didn't have to have the whole thing shipped out when it's not even correct.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty important thing to get wrong. You know, the colour. It should be kind of like a basic thing to get right, I'd assume. But also, like I mentioned earlier, Cricket's sister has came out and said that this company was actually stolen from her.
Story time about how my sister stole my brand vision and ran forward with the company and left me in the dust.
And look, before we even get into the details here, it's not exactly the best look with all these videos coming out, and the stuff Taylor goes on to say about this situation also isn't exactly the best look. So Taylor goes on to explain that her and her sister Cricket were going to start this company together, and Taylor was going to be in charge with everything other than like the actual making of the dress. So she was going to do like the designs, the business side of things, and then Cricket was going to do the actual like making of the dress.
I'm in charge of everything besides actually creating the garments. She was going to create those garments. She was going to learn how to sew. She would come over and have, you know, just a basic corset pattern. And she would say, is this good for the scoop neck? Is this good for the sweetheart neckline? And I would say, come here, inch this down, bring this down an inch, a quarter inch, raise this here. We need more waist reduction. How can we do this? Better, da, da. So I created the whole silhouette, and then she would just do as I instructed.
But then goes on to explain that Cricket was really unhappy with her job, so she wanted to start like a temporary company in the meantime whilst they were trying to get this company sorted together, where they were going to be able to do like a seamless transition from this temporary company to this main company that they wanted to start.
We were working a job that we did not like, and it gave her so much stress. She said, can I please start a mini business? And I said, sure. What were you thinking? She said, well, we need to start making social medias anyway for Ma Coquette. So what happens if I just sell plain corsets to also start practicing just plain corsets with the style, either sweetheart, scoop neck, straight, you know, whatever, and just in plain silk colorways. And then I can grow that platform and not only hopefully make a living by making some money and paying my bills, but the people that will follow will already like what we post and when we launch Ma Coquette. So we need to choose a name that sounds exactly the same and looks the same, so that when we transition from what it was, which we ended up choosing Ma Corsetière, to Ma Coquette. No one's really going to notice. She's going to introduce me and say, hey guys, I was just selling these base corsets before, but that's because we were getting you ready for our brand Ma Coquette. And you guys are already following. Wow, you already like what we're going to be selling, blah, blah, blah. And it already would have had a follow.
And at this point in the video, Taylor goes on to explain that her and Cricket ended up having this argument, this big fight, and this other company that they had together completely unrelated to this. Cricket then decided she wanted nothing to do with that company, dumped it all on Taylor, and then went and continued this other company that they had planned to start together all by herself.
We already both did own together a glassware company. It's called Rich and Thirsty. And she said, you know what, I don't want any part of this anymore. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm out. I'm done. She got off the LLC, signed over absolutely everything to me, and kind of dumped it on me. I had to learn everything that she was in charge of. I had double the responsibility now. It's a lot. All of a sudden, I keep getting sent to me from friends and family. Oh, you launched Ma Coquette. Wait, what are you talking about? No, I didn't. It's because she never stopped selling and producing things for Ma Corsetière. So she dumped everything else on me, and she continued Ma Corsetière on her own when she's never had any interest in fashion. Before I brought up this desire, she went to school for chemistry.
And then Taylor ends the video by explaining her feelings on the situation and says that she is blocked on everything.
I have tried to reach out multiple times. I'm blocked on absolutely everything. I've tried to email her. I've tried to drive over to her places. I can't get in contact with her at all. She refuses to even speak with me, not even over the phone. She won't even speak to my fiance. She's blocked all my friends, even friends that she doesn't even know. It's very strange. It's giving guilt. It's giving, I know I did wrong, but I'm getting money, baby, and I am doing well, so...
And that is pretty much all the updates we have to this point. I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below and everything that we spoke about in today's video, and I'm going to leave it there. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like down below, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.